You're looking for a job, they're looking for your money. Job scam reports tripled between 2020 and 2023, hitting more than $220 million in just the first half of 2024. Nearly 40%, think of that, of all fraud reports last year were tied to a fake job offer. Jean-Paul Bourgeot from GuidePoint Security is joining us to talk about this. All right, so we've all heard about job scams before, but when you hear those stats, those numbers about how they tripled in those couple of years, what's going on here?
Well, it's really the move to remote work. Scammers allows scammers to hide, and now with AI, they can make their English better. So in the past, we've been able to see this lack of good English come through, but it's harder to catch that because they use AI, and they also use AI to automate their attacks and their reaches out to the public.
All right, so I think to myself, all right, there are lots of people that are looking online and things of that nature for jobs. That is the way you get your resume in nowadays and all that kind of stuff. So doing things online is just going to be the state of where it is. So how do we
Yes.
know if that online job is for real or not?
Great question. The first thing is if they try to move, if you're on a recruiting site like LinkedIn or one of these sites, and they try to move you off a site to something less formal like texting, WhatsApp, Snapchat, that's a red flag. The second is if they're not wanting to meet with you in person or virtually on video live, again, that's a really big red flag. They should want that as a recruiter. So if you see those two, definitely start to think there's something going on here.
All right, so a lot of people though, they'll hear an excuse from somebody, right? Oh, my camera's just not working right now. You know how that is on a Monday. What should you do in that situation?
You need to be patient. So if you get something where there's reasons and excuses why they won't meet with you, you before you take a job, when they start asking for personal information, especially things like your bank account to pay you, you need to see there's a real person that you can talk to live.
Okay, so when criminals are impersonating recruiters to steal data, that kind of thing, are they using something specific? Like, are they using people's logos, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Again, AI has allowed them to create fake websites, to create really good emails, to create really good texting, and they can use it live to text with you. So yes, it can look really good, and that's part of the problem we're having and why we're seeing a rise lately.
All right, and so from what I hear too, the stats are showing that it's disproportionately younger people who are looking for these jobs. Is it just because they're too trusting?
It's a difference that we've seen in scams. In the past, it's mostly been older population, less tech savvy that have been targeted. In this case, it is the younger generation. And when you think about it, the younger generation is hunger, right? They're trying to advance their career, they're trying to move up in their job, trying to make more money, and that is what the scammers are after. The general population say they've been touched, 40% say they've been touched by a job scam. And of those, only 14% of the general population say they've interacted. But of Gen Z men, 24% say they interacted, and of millennial men, 31% said they interacted. The reason that those numbers are so much higher is because they have that desire. They're looking for that next step in their career.
Okay, we've got about a minute and a half left. I want to talk about what are some of the big red flags. I know you already said one, if they don't meet you in person, but what about like the information that they're asking for? That should also be a red flag.
That is, it should, especially if they're asking for more than what you would expect. So when you're looking for a job, they're really only going to need your name, your email, your phone number, and probably your job history. If they start asking for personal information like your social security number and different things, especially bank account information early on, red flag. And if the recruiter starts asking for that information rather than an HR who's intaking you, that's a red flag.
Do you have to sign something for the job to be real? Because eventually, the job is going to ask you for your bank account, right?
Event, correct. Yeah. And usually what you're going to see is pretty much all of us have been through the process. You'll get some sort of official document that says you're accepting the offer, you sign it, you submit it. And these guys do some of those things too, so we can be careful there. But yeah, you should see something that looks a lot more official and you're signing it. And then when you're doing the personal information, it should be an HR process and look very clear in HR process. And I think one of the things that we talk about is the younger generation. Many don't know a lot of these things. We older people have been through many job intakes. We know what to look for. We need to coach them. What should you expect? be patient, go through the process, help them understand what it should look like.
Yeah, onboarding takes a couple of days. They don't usually ask you for your bank account information until like day 2 or 3. Okay. We appreciate your
Exactly.
time and your expertise. Hey, if you want to send this to someone else that you think needs to see it, it's going to be in the Who Wants to Know section of our website. Thank you so much for joining us.